We got some super wet, heavy snow. 90% of this, or 80% of the way up here was fine. But now it's getting deeper, it's getting wetter, and we're stuck. Today, you and I are going to air down the tires on the F-150 and see if we can make it through the wet, heavy snow as we try to access the cabin. Snow dog making the most out of whatever she can find. Today, I'm at the Derby Canyon Retreat, gonna do some final project wrap up to get ready for this upcoming camping season. It is the 12th of April, and that time of year poses some challenges where there is, as you can see behind me, some snow, but not enough snow. What do I mean? I mean, when we have enough snow, we just bring the snowmobile, park the truck down a few miles below, and get up here. With this, we're dealing with wet, heavy, sloppy snow, and I already got, I wouldn't call it stuck, but partially stuck and couldn't go forward any further. So today, instead of using chains, which typically I will use and definitely like in icier conditions where I really need to grab what's under the top layer of snow or have, control from steering, where having 4 sets of trains does a good job with that, we're going to try the technique of airing down. Now, I don't have beadlock wheels, so I'm not taking it super low. I know the professional off-road guys are probably something like 5 PSI or whatever they're running at, maybe 5, 10, 15. With these tires, I think that the rated PSI is like 65, and I'm going to take them somewhere down to about 35, because when you air down your tires, what you're doing as you decrease that pressure is creating a bigger footprint and just gives you more area for the tire to grab, more traction, and hopefully by doing that we can use some momentum, additional traction, and float on that bigger footprint that each tire is creating so that we can get up to the cabin, which is still a pretty good distance away and something I would not really want to hike, especially with some of the gear I have with me. So stay tuned. So to ensure I have the proper PSI and that all 4 tires are the same, I'm going to be using this professional tire deflator. Now the way this thing works is inside it has this little groove that will actually grab your valve stem's core, or whatever that's called. And what we do is we screw this on so that it's on your valve stem. We then remove that stem core, or whatever, I don't know what the real name for it is, but it's that plunger that you depress when you're filling your tires, or you can push it and it lets air out. And what we do is we back that out so that basically this is keeping the seal, and we're able to pull this guy to release air. I'll show you exactly what I mean, but we'll be threading this on, using the end portion to take our valve stem center out, and then using the gauge to make sure that we're at the correct PSI. These are rated for 65. I usually run them at 65, especially on the freeway, and I'm going to take it down to 25 today and see what difference that makes for us. Hello, Ellie. All right, so we're going to take this guy. We're going to thread it on with this first portion that will thread that right down onto the valve stem. This then has this kind of plunger. We can feel when it grabs, and after about 6 or so turns, what we're doing is we're unscrewing the stem that is in our tire that allows the air out. So right now it's leaking a tiny bit, but it's pressurized in there. We can see that it looks like I was only maybe at about 40 or so. It's been some air's coming out, but now we can use this to release the air and then check our pressure. So I'm just going to use that process until I'm down to 25 PSI, and we'll do that for all 4 tires. All right, so now we're reading 25 PSI for this. So what I'm going to do is take my plunger guy, which is controlling that stem core. I'm going to twist it in to reseat that, and then unscrew from here to remove us from the stem altogether. And now this tire is at 25 PSI. Put my little cap back on, and visually, So far, it's not making a huge difference. You can see the front tire is at our probably about 50 or so PSI. This guy isn't showing a huge difference, so we'll see once we get back up the trail how much of an impact it's making. For the purpose of airing down tires, as well as just other conveniences like blowing up air mattresses, inner tubes for the boat, that kind of thing. It's one of the reasons why having a really great air pump is a must-have tool. This one in particular is from Astro AI. I really like it because it has 2 pumps and is rated up to 100 PSI. Not completely sure that it does complete 100, but that's a very high rating and certainly is more than adequate to get my tires, these 35-inch off-roads, up to 65 PSI, which I believe is what they're rated, freeway and everything else PSI is. The other thing that's really nice about this particular unit is it has DC, AC, and battery power. It also has a really generous cord on the DC, so I can plug it into my center console and reach all of my tires, so I can rely on my truck battery. I have the battery backup for things like the boat, for being in a place where maybe if my battery on the truck is not sufficient, or I'm worried about killing it throughout the day, plus just to reach other things. So between the air hose and the actual inflation pump, not to mention just the fact that on a trip like this, when I'm done after the air down and we're heading home in a couple days and I need to air the tires back up, it takes a lot of time to take these from 30 to 65 PSI. And it's very, very nice to be able to just set your PSI, hit go, and have it stop once it reaches that set PSI, instead of waiting 5 minutes on each tire holding the inflation and having to waste time that way. So must have, especially if you're going to do airing down or just have needs for an air pump. And it's relatively quick, having 2 pumps inside of it, so I really like this model. It's worked out really well for me. All right, that's looking good. So we'll go ahead and put that little stem core back in by twisting. That should secure our pressure. Back this whole thing off of that actual stem itself. And we're at 25. One more tire to go. Then we'll be on our way to try the sloppy wet snow. We are in 4 low. 25 PSI per tire. This is not a ton of snow, but it is freaking wet. And man, that didn't make the difference I was hoping. I'm not gonna lie, I did not think there'd be quite this much snow here. It's not a lot of snow, it's just wet, heavy, compact. And I probably can just make my way forward and back, forward and back. I do see ahead though, it's looking like it's a little bit thinner. I guess what I'll just try to do is inch my way up, build my own path. I'm hesitant to take more air out of the tires. As you guys saw earlier, it didn't make a huge difference in how they're sitting and their footprint, but these are not beadlock tires, and I don't want to take the air pressure down so low and be driving so aggressive that I lose a tire off the wheel. So I made it through a patch that looked like it was some of the heaviest. I'm just kind of keeping on the gas, and we're slowly trotting through. Definitely think it's performing better and doing better than as if it was at full PSI. I was hoping I might be able to float over the top a bit more. All in all, I would say it's helping us. Right now, we're just running 4 low with our 25 PSI on some dirt road soil that's not soaking wet. And I think we're gonna make it, man. Yeah, man, we are good, dude. This is the hardest part right here, where we get a real steep turn. It's also hard to hit this with tons of momentum because the road slopes towards the hill, and if I slide off that, I don't know if there's any going back. But hey man, no snow at the top of the mountain where we got much more sun exposure. I'm stoked on that. And ladies and gentlemen, we made it. Welcome to the Derby Canyon Cabin. My mission is self-reliance through sustainable living, and we're here to build a community. Click here to subscribe to be sure to get more awesome content for living off the land. And be sure to go in to enter for notifications. Click that bell, get notifications, and stay in tune. Subscribe, watch, and comment. Let's build a community. See you soon.